2017 marks a significant milestone in the history of the West Australia Police Force. The agency is proud to celebrate 100 years of women serving in the ranks. Over the year, we've had the opportunity not only to look back at the achievements of those pioneers, but also to assess where we've come over the last century and the way forward for even greater achievement by our growing band of women. There's an old saying that goes, "Those who drink from the well should never forget those who dug the well." The new Dugdale Chipper Pavilion at the Police Academy bears the names that remind us where it all began. Helen Dugdale and Laura Chipper were the first female officers appointed as probationary constables to the Women Police Office in 1917. Australia's involvement in World War I opened up employment prospects for women, but it was a choice between work and family. Mrs Dugdale was a widow and Miss Chipper the former matron of a rescue home. The women who followed them into the ranks were ideally trained nurses, and there were strict age restrictions with a preference for middle-aged women with life experience. Women were also required to resign once they were married. They were directed to patrol parks, entertainment areas and slum neighbourhoods to look after the moral welfare of women and children. From the outset, female officers received the same pay as their male counterparts, but no uniform.
We wore dresses with petticoats, or a skirt and blouse, with a jacket or coat. Shoes were of our own choice, either heels or flat, but not stilettos, with stockings, hat, gloves, handbag. We've got pictures. We were issued with a whistle and handcuffs, but I never used them. I don't think anybody did. I asked Wilma, did she ever use a whistle? She said she couldn't remember.
I've still got it.
Our hats were not needed at night. Plainclothes fellows wore their suits and hats. We were required to be always neatly dressed and well-groomed.
They had just brought in that we were allowed to be married. So when I first joined, you weren't allowed to be married, you weren't allowed to have any children, and we were actually inducted into the police under Wilma Curry, and where we did a 6-month on-the-job training. We didn't go through a police academy. So that happened, and then when I left, they had just brought in how you could be married, you could have maternity leave, and so I took 12 months maternity leave without pay, and then decided not to go back.
But those who stayed forged a path as strong role models. Leading the way was Ethel Scott, appointed as officer in charge of the Women Police Office in 1946, and the first to attain the ranks of sergeant, inspector and superintendent.
She was the most intelligent, knowledgeable, fair woman who stood up for the progress of women police, and she was a strong voice for progress. And it seems fitting that her regimental number, 1917, coincides with this 100-year celebration of women police.
By the time Wilma Curry took over the unit in 1971, the same rules and promotion principles were in place for men and women. The police force was changing with society, and police work suddenly became more accessible for women with the lifting of the marriage restriction.
Oh, it was very hard because we only found out just recently in the last 12 months that Fran actually got married and didn't tell them, and that was before we were allowed to be married.
So that was a big gamble for her, really,
Oh yes, it definitely was.
It was wonderful.
It was common for female officers to conduct city patrols of trouble spots, carrying out valuable surveillance duties. Their priority was prevention rather than prosecution.
We were a lot more than women in plain clothes, hats, heels and handbags, tasked with looking after the welfare of women and children. And I think I've made that pretty clear. The first women police, those who paved the way, were those who served between 1917 and mid-1977. Thereafter, it was a whole new regime.
The most noticeable change was signalled in 1976, when women were finally issued uniforms like this one. Around the same time, women also began formal training through the police academy. By mid-1977, all female officers were ready to be amalgamated into official frontline duties.
We were the last women police at the Women Police Office. We graduated in March 77. We were at the Women's Police Office for just a few months until July 77. Couldn't wait to get out, I don't know about you. We couldn't wait to get out and get down into the field, and just loved it. And I think being in those days when there were so few of us and going through, you know, day one in the van, guys trying to open the door for you because, you know, it was like being on a date, and you'd say, look, we're not going on a date, we're actually working together. And people don't realise what it was like for the male officers that had to work with us. But the reputation that we all got, truly, was remarkable. And I'm so proud to be part of that original group of women. Really, really proud.
As am I.
We were WPCs, the Women Police Constables, for a long time. And it was great. We did take a lot to get sort of out on the road with the boys and to be accepted as one of the troops. But it didn't take long because there were a lot of people that really wanted, they were there for the right reasons. The best job in the world, as I said before, it's just great. And to be able to do what we did, again, when you talk about the changes over time, the uniform changes and the absolutely essential things to be able to make it available for us to do the jobs that the guys were doing.
Alida Scott and Denise Clements opened the door for female cadets.
For us it was a job initially, so we'd been given this opportunity, and it was an opportunity. So we'd been given this opportunity, so we sort of went in there without any great expectations or a great deal of history attached to it, obviously. And so we sort of made our own pathways, I suppose, in lots of ways.
But we knew that if we didn't do a good job, that there wouldn't be anyone following us, any other females. So, you know, we did have to set a precedent, and I think we did a rather good job. Yeah, we did, yeah.
The changes that went through policing during that period of time was quite crucial. There was a lot of big changes that occurred. So from, you know, women being pigeonholed into doing only certain jobs, the style of uniform that we went, you know, I can remember sitting on committees where they were desperate to try and get women into wearing trousers, something that was actually a practical outfit to be walking around in. So it was a fairly, you know, there was times where I think we were sort of, not us personally, but as a group, we were the younger generation coming through. So we probably had some fresh ideas that came along with it.
The first kept coming. Merrin Boshin, the first mounted officer. Bridget Barks, the first traffic officer. Jennifer Leet, the first woman to be named Police Officer of the Year. As more role models emerged, female ranks gradually started rising in the 1980s. Kath Bullen broke down barriers in rural communities as the first woman in charge of a country station in Darren and then Calabarin.
There was some farmers there that just went, wow, what? A female sergeant or a senior constable we were at the time, as the officer in charge, we don't know how we're going to deal with this. And there were people there just saying, I'm not dealing with you. Oh, there's no way, I'm talking to a man only.
Kath went on to become the first female district superintendent. In 1989, Val Doherty became the first woman in Australia to be promoted to Chief Superintendent. And in 1991, she was the first female recipient of the Australian Police Medal. As a young woman, I looked up to these role models. Because of these women and their determination to be seen as equals, we now have women working in all areas of policing. I remember how important it was when Barbara Eder was appointed the first female Assistant Commissioner in 2004. I am proud to share the rank of Assistant Commissioner with Michelle Fyfe. And there's a whole generation of strong, intelligent, experienced women ready to take the agency into the future. More than 2,400 female officers have joined WA Police since 1917, and today we are steadily increasing the numbers. We now have more than 1,400 female police officers and PAOs, making up more than 22% of the frontline. That percentage has been growing in recent years and will continue to grow. On top of that, we are backed by more than 1,200 female police staff members, almost 2/3 of the unsworn ranks, and many operating at senior levels in the agency. The Centenary of Women in Police has provided a wonderful opportunity to hear from trailblazers and celebrate the past and present. The year ended with a fitting tribute to those first two police women, with the opening of the Dugdale Chipper Pavilion at the Police Academy. The public had a chance to celebrate at the police exhibition at the Royal Show, hopefully inspiring a whole new generation of future officers. A commemorative signature book has toured the state with the aim of capturing the signatures of every woman employed in the agency in the centenary year. A series of events gave generations of women a chance to catch up with former colleagues and share those memories.
I had the absolute privilege of working under Lorraine. So I joined police in 1988, and in 1990 I went to the accident inquiry section, and it was very unusual to have to be working with other females in a group, let alone to have a supervisor, a female supervisor. So Lorraine was my first, and I must say, thinking back on it now, it's been my only female supervisor, and so it was just wonderful times.
Well, it's great to see that the girls now have become inspectors. If it's in my day, it just wasn't thought of, there's no way. We're lucky to, be sergeants. We thought that was wonderful. And to see Jo here as an inspector, I'm so proud of her. Commander! Wow! Gosh!
It was the training you gave me, Lorraine, it was fantastic.
The years of police service leave a mark on us all. And I do believe the old saying, once a copper, always a copper. Thank you very much.
My first graduation ceremony as Police Commissioner will be remembered for two reasons. First, the wind and rain that greeted us on the parade ground that day, but more importantly, it recognised 100 years of women serving in the WA Police Force. The ceremony featured female officers in all the lead roles, and women made up half of the ranks of recruits to graduate that morning. It's my hope that in the years to come, such an occurrence will no longer be a notable difference, but commonplace in our police force. Our recruitment has become more sophisticated as we search for talented people with a wide range of skills that best reflect the community we protect and serve. We look for those with modern policing skills, which includes good interpersonal and management capabilities. Women often bring this to the table, along with a different way of resolving complex issues. From the day they begin at the academy, male and female officers work side by side as equals. Women are now afforded the opportunity to apply for any role within the agency, and we will continue to develop equitable opportunities for all members. Bringing more women into leadership roles is paying dividends.
Having the female colleagues there, in the latter part of my career, I can see so many benefits in having that, because it just brings a fresh perspective and a fresh leadership style on a way of thinking to things, which I probably missed out on early on.
In another 100 years, the milestone may not be given the same recognition, as having women in the police force becomes increasingly less remarkable. While that's our goal, may we never forget those pioneers who served us so well for the first 100 years.